Right. Hey, it's 11 a.m. on a Friday. We're back here on Switch Aotearoa. Looking at you, looking at you, looking at you. Thank you for joining us. Start coming in, start joining us. Another week of Benevolent Banter. Today is Valentine's Day. And I have two of the cutest wee humans on the planet sitting right here with me on celebrating all kinds of love. Sister love. That sounds weird. No, we'll stop now. And as yeah, I know. This intro is going well.
Yeah.
So well. What I like to do every week with guests is have you introduce yourselves.
Okay.
Didn't prep you for that one.
Oh, curveball.
Love a good curveball. So please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Courtney Devereux. I'm the editor of Stop Press news site.
Okay, great.
And I'm Elly Strang. I'm the editor of Ideologue magazine.
Okay, so you're editors.
Yeah.
Let's dive deeper. Let's extricate who you are from these titles.
That's it.
Tell us a little bit. So, Courtney, tell us a little about who you are. Like what led you to this seat today? Not like your Uber. You know,
I drove.
Yeah, you drove.
She's a strong independent
I
woman.
can't afford an Uber.
Yeah. I know. I took the bus.
Paydays next week.
I actually took the bus today with my daughter on her way to school.
No, that's great. Public transport for the win.
Public transport's fantastic.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about you.
Right. I am 24.
Oh, baby.
Yes, 95. Great year.
95. You were born in 95.
95.
That was the year I fell in love with Elton John.
Oh, great
Wow.
year all around.
There's a lot of great things happening in
Great things. I came into the
Your
world.
birth.
Elton
My love of
John
the Rocket Man.
Perfect.
Great. So let's start back in 1995. Yep.
Yeah. It's hard to think about summarizing my entire life, I guess.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you're in publishing. You're an
Yes.
editor.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about how you got there. I think that's really interesting.
Right. Well, I studied communications and did a major in journalism, and then did a postgraduate in business finance, which was a huge mistake because it was so hard. Scraped through. Sucker for punishment. And then I did campaign writing for Trelise Cooper for a while.
Nice.
In the fashion sphere.
Yeah.
And then decided I wanted to focus more on business side of things. So I combined them and went and became a journalist for New Zealand Retail for a couple of years.
Nice.
And that's when I got made deputy of retail. And then from there, after 2 years, I was made editor of Stop Press last September. And that's kind of been me ever since.
Which we can come back to.
Yeah, just cruising.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I love Stop Press. Elly, your journey.
Okay, well, taking it quite far back, I'm 26 years old, and
Ooh,
I was
beyond 95?
Yes, I was 94.
Wow.
So superior.
Wow.
And I was born the first child of a family, and I was a surprise / mistake.
Still a surprise.
'cause
This
my
is why I like you so much.
Yeah, it's because my next brother up is 11 years older, and my oldest brother is 19 years older, so there's quite an age gap.
Wow.
And so growing up, I guess through my childhood, I had to kind of learn to entertain myself. So I was always writing, I was always playing with my toys and creating little storylines for them, that sort of thing. And that's where my love of storytelling began. Yeah. And then as I was going through school, I was into the kind of creative writing side of things. But we were coming up to university and everyone's like, oh, how do we make careers out of this? How do we make money from it? And journalism was one of the things talked about to me. And I was like, oh, yeah, I could give that a go and see how that works out. So did a Bachelor of Communications majoring in journalism. And funnily enough, at university, I interned at Ideologue.
Really?
Yeah. And it kind of opened my eyes to these wonderful creative industries that I'd never really heard of, like these job titles that I didn't know existed, like the tech and design and entrepreneurship side of things. And I was like, wow, this is really awesome. We need to get Ideologue out to more people so more people know about these cool industries and where they could take New Zealand. And I actually ended up taking a job at NZ Retail, like Courtney.
Stepping stone.
Yeah.
And then
Gateway to Awesomeness.
Yeah. And then I moved across to Ideologue after 3 or so years to be the deputy editor, and then moved up to editor. So
wow,
that's my journey.
That's an amazing journey.
Yeah.
You both mentioned you studied journalism.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to study, but I didn't because I was in Santa Barbara, so it was like the beach.
What did you study?
I studied Spanish language and literature and history. It was like after 4 years, they're like, you have so many credits in this area that you actually just need to choose.
Yeah, they were like, please just do something.
And it was like, okay. But kind of like you guys, I discovered marketing and the industry of tech and everything later. I didn't know it existed either, really, until I kind of fell into it.
It's funny, they don't really mention it in high school. I don't know if it's changed these days, but I had no idea about those kind of industries. It was more the very, like, traditional pathways, like science and
law,
that
so
sort of
than
thing.
anything.
So did you both want to become journalists? Is that where kind of your heart and soul was, or is it?
No, not even remotely. Like, that sounds really bad.
What did you want to be?
I
What did you want
wanted
to do?
to be an actress, and my mother said, don't you fucking dare. Sorry if I'm not allowed to swear.
You're allowed to swear. We will
Awesome.
not bleep you there.
That's good.
We fucking love swearing.
Fabulous. She was like,
everywhere.
she was like, don't you fucking dare, and like go to something that makes money. So God knows why I went into journalism. And then, so I went into...
You screwed up.
Yeah, I know. I was like, joke's on you, Mum. But
Lols.
I went in and she just said to me, oh, just go do comms, go do something that's vague, you know. Go do something where even if you just get your degree that shows you can finish something, that shows you have that integrity to finish a 4-year
and a basic skill set that you could apply to almost any career.
And I went in and I thought, oh, I'll do radio, I'll go do something.
Nice.
And then found out how much essays they actually required and dropped out of that so fucking quick. I was like, nah, I'm out. And then I did journalism.
And then it was like...
And then I was like, well, fuck, what's next? All right.
This is what's next.
Yeah, I got a real, like, blasé attitude about it all. Just as long as you work hard, you kind of can do most things.
Yeah. Yes. Children, listen up. As long as you work hard, you can do most things.
And don't swear as much as me.
Apparently, science has proven that people who swear are much more trustworthy because you know that they're more comfortable with you and will just tell you what it's like.
Nice.
So
I'll let my nan know that.
Yeah. I'll let my nan know that. Nan's like, yes.
Nan, I'm trustworthy. Shut up.
And Elliot, what about you in journalism?
It was an interesting one because when we were at university, what we were all kind of being pushed towards was newspaper journalism, and we'd intern at like regional newspapers. Like I interned at the Gisborne Herald, and no disrespect to the regional newspapers, but it's probably not the smartest direction to be like pushing everyone in because like newspaper journalism is in a really tough spot, right?
It's in a very tough spot.
And so they weren't necessarily, I think, equipping us with the skills to move into the future, because when you look at the skill of storytelling and writing, content is massive, and there's so many companies who need good writers and good storytellers, right? But that wasn't the natural, I guess, flow for journalism. Like they hadn't quite directed people to these different avenues yet. I don't know. So,
which is interesting because when we talk about journalism, and I'd love your take on this too, it's like journalism's in this place right now where we can't deny fake news and bad actors and everybody putting different kinds of information online. There are some political parties that are now in New Zealand taking part in these different tools where we can understand what's real, what's they're putting out, what their targeting is, what they're paying for, and then not. What's your sense of where journalism needs to go?
Personally, I think it needs more credibility for certain areas. You know, anyone, like you're saying, anyone can be a journalist these days. You just have to pick up your phone and take a photo and report what you said, and, you know, there's that grey area. But I think as long as you put the facts first and make sure that you're being trustful with the audience you have, with their trust as well, then that's kind of puts you ahead of where things are going at the moment, which is that real fake space. And
how do we denote that, though? How does the, like, people at large, how do they go, I trust Courtney, I understand what she's saying, and I know it's real? Because I know that's what, like, Facebook and all of the major publishers are starting to go. Is there a badge that goes, we have confirmed all of these facts? And you know, how do governments handle this? I know we can't probably answer this, but
yeah, I've had to educate a few of my friends on this, because sometimes they'll, like, refer to a news article or, like, share something, and it's just from a non-reputable source, like clearly like a blog or someone with an agenda, and I have to be like, no, you've got to look out for the actual like news producers. Like, that's where you've got to get your news from. You can't be just grabbing, like, random stuff off the internet. Like, you've got to be quite vigilant in the way you consume.
That's a very yes. And do you think that vigilance actually exists, especially in our younger generations, of trying to understand what's happening?
People read what they want to believe, no matter where it comes from.
People aren't even, like, educated on the fact that there is fake news to the degree that there is, I don't think.
I had a conversation with my mom the other day, which was really interesting, because my mom, she's probably more connected in the digital and, like, social space than I am. She'll go, have you seen this thing? And she'll show it to me, and I'm like, oh, wow. And then I take it to work, and people are like, you're a thought leader. And I'm like, actually, my mom sent me that link. All right, there goes my secret. Shout out, Mom. Thanks for the career. But I was talking to my mom the other day, and she said, we were talking about politics. And we were talking about, specifically, because she's in the States, and, you know, this accent. Hot topic. And we were talking about politics and how everything's so binary now. It's either us or them. And we're talking about, obviously, Mr. Trump and anti-Trump and all of this kind of stuff. And it was nice to have a conversation with somebody who's living there on the ground. But she said to me, I've been, she has this curated list of news articles that she sends. And I love it, because it's not my curated list of articles. So in this, like, algorithmically driven universe, I keep getting the same stuff all the time. And my mom just sending me her stuff, which is completely different, was awesome. And we were talking about that. And Mom said, I just look at the headline and the first 5 sentences and decide whether or not I like it. And I was like, oh, Mom, let me tell you the science about this. I felt like now I could give back. And this is the thing, is we have learned now, because of the algorithms that will do our, you know, just inherently point us in the direction of our biases. We'll read a headline and that's it. It's so hard for people to click on something and then read the whole thing, because we've been trained now just to have those little sweet fixes. So and with that vigilance, how do we get people to dive deeper?
And I think that curation aspect as well, like, there is so much noise out there in the digital world that maybe, like, that's behind the rise of LinkedIn and, like, thought leadership. Like, when people share articles, depending on who's shared it, that's when it has that credibility and trust, and people click on it more, you know. And I think that's something that became a little bit eroded in that kind of race to the bottom for clicks with actual news brands, you know.
I love that, the race to the bottom.
That trust and that credibility, like, people look at that brand and they think maybe it's tarnished, or they don't really like it or trust it anymore, so they don't really engage with it, you know.
100%. And I think that was a big thing, because I was at NZME for a while during kind of the formative years of that click race. And it was an interesting thing to see, like, super good journalism, but the stuff that got promoted was the stuff that got the links. The clicks.
On the front page. That was
it's because it's how they get their advertising money.
Correct.
It always comes down to that.
And so I know it was just as frustrating internally to try and figure out, and I guess that's where I was going earlier with it. Where are we going with journalism? Like, how do we go past
the $1 million question? Cassie.
I know.
Let's sort it out.
Right now, let's get down to
this deep dive. Shall we?
Audience, what do you have to say?
Well, I think the New Zealand Herald's premium rollout was a really good move.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. And you just have to look at all the way American news sources are going, like the Washington Post, New York Times. Everyone's got a paywall now. So people will pay for high quality news. You've just got to put it in front of them.
Correct. Okay, maybe we shift past this.
Okay.
I would like to know, for people who were born in the 1990s.
That's us.
Yeah, that's you guys. Like, there's so much talk today about the world of connection that we live in. So I don't know if you both can even remember a time before the internet. A little bit, maybe.
Ish. Foggy.
Like,
You remember dial-up?
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when the internet was way smaller than it is now
Yeah.
and less
Yeah.
life-consuming. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I've got that
And
contrast.
then for some reason I wasn't allowed to be on the computer while Mum was on the phone. I was like,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the old phone,
Memories,
phone line.
yeah. Fond memories. Get off the phone!
I only talk to my friends on MSN
I
Messenger.
know. Crush is logged in. Get off! Yeah.
I guess my question is, we're living in a time that is so connected, right? Our little
Yeah.
phones in our pockets can do anything.
Yeah.
I got a video of my niece, who's like 2, who lives in Detroit this morning, saying her prayers before she ate. And so everything's connected. But we're living in the time of the biggest disconnect ever of humanity.
Yeah.
Right? So here in New Zealand, the suicide statistics are alarming is a
the
simple
roof.
word, right?
Yeah.
They're through the roof. It's crazy, the numbers, anxiety, depression, all of these things. And we're starting to see that social media and digital media and even paid media and advertising and marketing and all of these different ways of gathering our attention and just pulling at us, it's not doing the best thing.
Yeah.
As the folks who are going to lead the next generation, what do you think 2 or 3 things that we can all do now to help actually connect with each other? What are 3 things we can do right now to stop the disconnect and to dial up the connection?
Consciously consume technology. I think Apple's leading by example, the way you can put time limits on apps on how long you spend. So if you set an hour limit for Instagram or something, it will tell you and possibly lock you out. Like, I think things like that promote healthy use of technology and snap you out of that kind of autopilot of using it or scrolling or whatever.
Yeah, for hours.
Are the way we need to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 more? Or?
Oh, 2 more?
Oh, I mean, jump right in. Jump right in. It can be 3 amongst you.
And I don't know, I'm in 2 minds about it because social media and technology like really democratizes access to people, right? You can talk with anyone and everyone. Like, it's amazing in that respect. But I also think in-person communities have become so important on the flip side of that, and you have to look at like the rise of like experience stuff like festivals and gym classes and even going to like weddings recently. Like, I always have a real appreciation for so many people being in one place and sharing those experiences. Like, that can't be replicated online. So I think we just really need to make sure there's more of those happening, more of those in-person experiences to balance out the crazy online world.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I think technology and that connection that we get from it should be used as, like, I guess the cherry on top for real personal connections.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm more than happy to chat to my partner all day over the phone because I know I'm going to see him later and still connect in that kind of way. Whereas I would hate to have a long distance relationship where you just could do it that way. You know, it's I think the difference between that interpersonal relationship and that, I guess, just topping up of what you've already got.
Yeah.
Through,
Breathing the same air as somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
and I think as long as you've got a healthy split between how much you are using this technology to connect with people versus how much you're using you to connect with people, I think as long as that balance is there, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
And using it in an authentic way as well. Like, someone me and Courtney know the other day did like a post that was like really far removed from reality, and we both knew it, but it was kind of just creating this story for
it was a real
social
highlight.
media. A real highlight, and we could see right through it. But
isn't that interesting?
They were presenting themselves in a certain way on social media, and we were like, that's...
So that's what makes me feel so good about, you know, your age group and younger, is I hear that at work too, especially with a lot of the younger, mostly gals, going, oh my gosh, that person put a huge filter on that, and they're going, but she's beautiful without the filter. So we've started to tell her, like, you don't need that. We just need you as you are. And I'm just like, wow, that's a really cool way to look at it. But there's still a part of society that tells us we need that filter.
You don't need to embellish it or glamorize it. Like, just say it how it is.
Our generation's good at calling bullshit now, I think. Through that.
Yeah. I know my generation, like, it's hilarious the two different ways people see it. So like I've had quite a few younger people, and we kind of met through work and like mentorship, and then became good friends. But a lot of young people have been like, wow, how did you like strategize your personal brand to have like your name is your Hotmail and then your name is your Instagram? And I'm like, I'm old. I was the first one of me on everything.
Yeah, you didn't have to put like 8 numbers at the end of your
username. Cassie,
I
Roma,
also love
2578.
like, how did you strategize that? You're like, I'm me.
Yeah,
Like,
I am the
social-
strategy.
It's not complicated.
I have not strategized anything that I really wasn't paid for. It's fine. Life's like a little bit of just that and this and curiosity.
Keep the strategizing till your 9 till 5 job.
It's only the last like few years have I got the question like, what is your personal brand? And I'm like, I don't fucking know.
So that's an
I'm
interesting
alive.
one, like personal brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did that become such like a thing that has to be dissected? A lot of the time that's what I get asked too, especially in like the public professional sphere is, wow, you've done a whole lot to curate and create this personal brand. And I'm like, actually, I've just shared what I'm comfortable with sharing because I feel like my generation, I am like the oldest of the millennials, just sneaked in by like 6 months.
Still counts.
A little snake.
Still counts.
Yeah, still counts it to get in there. But I feel like we're this beta test. Like we were going, there was a life before any social media, before any dial-up, before I can remember the day I signed up for a Hotmail. I think I was like 15, maybe 14. I can remember that day and thinking I can send my best friend an email when we sat this far apart. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we've kind of moved through that, and now we're at this point where like we are never turning off.
Yeah.
Everything is online, and as we've become in my career where you go from the 5 to the 4 to the 3 and you start to grow and you get this visibility, people are like, how have you curated that? And I'm going like, I haven't. I'm an expat. I didn't know anybody in New Zealand. I've been here for 18 years now, so I've had to meet people, and I've met them through work.
Yeah.
And I've always felt like the best thing you can do is have conversations. That wasn't curating a personal brand. I mean, if you look on my Instagram this morning, it's literally me with a Pebbles top knot. I mean, Freud, I was jumping out of a closet.
Yeah, perfect.
To scare my wife. Poor woman. Sorry, Carly, I love you. But it's like, you have to be, when you're comfortable to share something, share it.
Yeah, and like I've heard of like influencer agencies or celebrity agencies, they make you have like 3 or 5 brand pillars, and like I don't know, I feel like people are more intangible than that.
Is it
Like,
just kind of like your
break it down to
values?
brand pillars. Yeah, maybe your values, but
And I guess the thought of a brand makes you feel like you're a product trying to sell yourself.
Yeah.
It does, and it feels disingenuous.
It feels really
Exactly.
disingenuous, yeah.
It feels, yeah. And
I feel like it's the wrong way to be thinking about it. Maybe
Yeah.
if you talked about it as values instead, that would be a different story.
Or
But
what
even
if
then,
you-
if you're trying to sell yourself as a brand, and do you feel like our beta test generation, you guys have learned from that? And because you seem and I don't know if it's just because you're also in the space, right? When you work, where you play is in the space of understanding how the channels work and how the platforms interact. But, do you feel like everybody's kind of more woke now and kind of just going, we can see right through that?
I think for every woke person, there's this full-fledged idiot out there as well. Like, it's a real split.
Can we repeat that? For every woke person, there's a full-fledged idiot out there.
It's just such a
You
split.
know?
You're just so surprised about how amazingly aware some people are.
Yeah.
And then equally just so surprised about how many people just have their, like, blinders on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to be careful that you don't get caught up in the echo chain, because usually the people you associate with are as woke as you are,
Yeah.
right? That's why
Yeah,
you like them
exactly.
and hang out with
That's
them.
right, that's
but
right.
there's still other people out there that are nothing like that. So
There's like a full fear. I know I've seen it of people just not being online. Of people going, I can't take a month off of social media.
FOMO.
Yeah.
Because
FOMO, yeah.
Because FOMO, and then also people going,
Will I be a nobody?
I'll be a nobody.
What happens
And
to my personal brand?
I know, if I didn't make it into an Instagram story, did it even happen?
Yeah, exactly. If I
And
don't repost it, what
I
did
had
I live
people
that day?
asking me like over Christmas, are you okay? And I was like, what do you mean? And you haven't posted anything for like a week. I was like, well, because I'm here
Yeah.
in my real life. I'm not worried about the algorithm, FYI.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, where did we get that unhealthy expectation that we like start to hit people up when they don't post? Like, I mean, it's good to check in. Like, if someone seems like something's horribly wrong,
Yeah,
are you
yeah,
alive?
absolutely.
But like,
Are you all good? Yeah.
He just literally posted the lyrics from Sounds of Silence.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Hey, should we chat? Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we DM?
Just slide in.
Yeah, we're fine. Come on. But I guess from the other side of that is how do we take, you talked about democratization earlier and about people now being able to use this for good. What's your thoughts on recognizing and checking in with people? In the last year, I've lost a few people to suicide. And in the lead up to both of those occurrences, I can remember telling my wife, something's not on with this person. I never knew the depths of it, obviously. What is on us to be able to understand, notice, and check in on others?
ooh, tough question. I think just keeping tabs on the people that are closest to you that you interact with, and if they become like withdrawn or don't see themselves, then really kind of get in there and not force it out of them and make them uncomfortable. But sometimes it's so easy to say I'm fine, don't worry about it. But you've really got to dig a bit deeper if you've got kind of like a gut feeling that something's not 100% right. And I know like with our workplace, for example, because we see each other every single day, 8 hours a day, like we're pretty in tune with each other's emotions
Your
and how
Instagram
everyone's feeling.
stories are fire.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome.
So like if one of the girls like wasn't feeling okay, like we'd genuinely be able to pick up on that and like tend to that. Maybe
so that goes back to that connective in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
The workplace can be that like sense of community and looking out for each other if you make it that way, because I think it's a little harder with people you don't see all the time, right, to really know how they're doing.
Yeah.
So maybe we can start with the workplace.
Yeah.
Yeah. I similar had a friend who took her own life a couple of years back, and like I think what was shocking was that she just was the most happiest go lucky person, and you never really thought you had to check in. Like I hadn't really spoken to her for a few years, so it was quite shocking. But I guess it kind of drilled in the fact that it's always good to have that dialogue.
Yeah.
Like Elle saying, even when people are, don't attack them and be like, you're sad, like what's up, tell me. It's it has to be a daily thing of checking in, because you never know when people are spiraling, you never know when something's going wrong. And I think we're really lucky because we have a really close group, and I can text Elle and be like, yo, rant, help, like it's they're sounding boards basically, just a bit of logic, a bit of care, and it goes a long way just to have someone listen to you.
And I think also with like technology and social media creating this highlight reel, like we've got to get more comfortable with talking about uncomfortable subjects and not everything being like positive, happy-go-lucky. Like we've got to have those hard conversations as well, and we can't shy away from stuff that makes us feel all like, because those are the most important conversations that need to be had.
And do you think that social is helping with that? Because I know, so it's Pride Month in New Zealand as well, for all of you not in the community.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. But one of the things that I love about social media is that, especially for like my kids' generation, so my almost 14-year-old and below, is they are so aware of all kinds of people and nuance. And it feels like social has opened up this world to them that's like, you can be who you want to be.
Yeah.
Do you see that goodness in social as well?
I do, and it scares me the pressure that the younger generation is under also because of social media. But I love that it's opening their minds up to people doing all sorts of things with their lives. Yeah. But it does scare me.
Yeah,
it's a little scary as a parent too.
Yeah, and it's hard to, I guess, know because we're like not old yet.
But
so
you can see
whoa!
It's not.
I feel attacked. I feel so attacked.
Let me rephrase that. We're younger than just like the general population. And so it's hard to kind of just like take myself out of the equation when I think about, I'm like, am I at that stage where it's like, oh, young people should be careful? And I'm like, well, that counts me as well. Then I'm not entirely careful on it either. Like only a couple months back, I went through my Instagram and unfollowed everyone from models and influencers, and I just did a mass unfollowing, and it's amazing how much my perception changed about myself from doing that.
Yeah.
Wow. Tell me a little bit more about that. Were you starting to notice as you scrolled and that you were feeding this like unhealthy thing in you?
Absolutely. And I was starting to look at feeds, and I can start comparing myself to these, Amazonian goddesses who, even just down to genetics, we're not ever going to be the same.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not people that have ever actually, no offense, done something with their lives, but, they've got this platform because they're, beautiful. And then I would find myself, editing my own photos and trying to curate my own feed to look like these people and look like these, I guess, ideas. They're ideas, they're not people. They're they live in like Sweden and shit. It's not like I'm ever going to see them. So
Amazonian humans in Sweden.
Exactly.
Unfollow. We love you, Sweden.
So I did a massive unfollowing, and then I started I switched the table, so I started following people like Michelle Obama and all these amazing voices that are doing something, and it was and I kind of got an idea from Elle too, because she follows all these fantastic people, mostly through Ideologue, that are doing all these cool things. So that just it completely flipped.
Yeah. One of my core drivers with Ideologue is I went through a bit of an anxiety crisis in my early 20s, because most of the women in my family they had jobs, but they met the loves of their life early, got married, had kids, followed that quite traditional path. And when I didn't have that, I was kind of freaking out, oh, what am I doing with my life? Am I weird? Am I okay? Does anyone want me?
So yes to all of those things, but
yes, all those
you
things.
are weird. Anyway. You are okay.
But I didn't see many examples of young women entrepreneurs growing up, and even in my early 20s. And so I was like, right, I'm going to change that, and I'm going to go seek them out and do stories on them for Ideologue, because I want to empower young women, and I want them to see that they can do anything they want. They need those examples and those role models there to look up to and open their minds to that.
That's so cool. Yeah. That's so cool. We talked, I had a guy called Oliver Hall on last week. He's the editor of Gay Express magazine.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool.
And
great magazine.
He is a cool, we always end up dressing the same. He's like my twin. We talked a lot about the L Word. Great show if you haven't seen it yet. But we talked about that the representation and visibility matters so much across the board, regardless of where you sit in society. Because if you're a little girl and you don't see anybody doing what you do in the world that you want to walk in, how do you become that?
Yeah. And do you know what scared me? I was really scared that one of my nieces was going to turn around to me and be like, when I grow up, I want to be a model influencer or something like that, something with no substance or no actual career or goals or anything behind it. And I was like, no, we need to get these kinds of people elevated more in the public eye.
I feel like it's time for that. And I feel like the publications that you two work in and across have, since you've been there, thank goodness for you two, started to move in directions where not only is the content interesting, but the stories behind it are real. They're gritty. They go beyond ad tech and marketing and your traditional agency, and they go into the depth of the human.
Yeah.
How in the future then are we going to look at work and life and that balance between who we are and our own purpose and businesses? Because it feels like a shift has to happen.
Something I've thought a little bit about recently is, it sounds a bit woo-woo, but feminine versus masculine energy.
Yes.
And the whole business ecosystem has been constructed to be very masculine energy, right? Very driven, very hard ass, get things done, competitive. Yep. And we're seeing these women come through and make it into more executive roles and that kind of thing. And with that, we've seen some of the kind of feminine energy come in, so the workplace culture and the empathy side of things. And I think we're just kind of starting on that journey, and we are getting more diversity in the workplaces. But I think what needs to happen now is women need to question the status quo as well and look around and see what needs changing and what ways we can creatively solve these problems as well.
I agree too. And, having kind of moved up the proverbial ladder in, the last 17 years, it's been interesting to watch the change in that energy shift. Meaning when I started, probably when I was about your guys' age as well, when the women at the top, the leaders, were visible, they were hard asses.
Yeah.
They were trying to really own that masculine energy, and
Yeah.
any show of emotion would be them quickly going out of the room and pulling themselves together.
Someone called them little men on a podcast.
No.
And
Little men.
I'm bigger than most of the little men, so
Yeah.
that's never been good for me. Like 6'2" in heels was not always okay. But it was one of those things too, where when I started to get into that managerial space, I would at times wear heels knowing that I would be 6'2" and taller than some of the men in the room. So if they didn't respect me enough for my mind,
Yes.
they'd at least go, holy shit, she's giant.
Yeah.
That's the boss bitch move.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That was
That's
a
some
boss
tactical shit.
That was
That's
a
real
that was a
tactical.
strategic personal brand boss bitch move.
Well,
That's
yeah,
right.
It's going to be hard for them to be, like, I guess, snarky if they're always just, like, craning.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hard to snark like
hard
that.
to
Yeah,
talk down to
exactly.
you.
Yeah.
Just look down at these tiny men.
That's right. That's
Absolutely.
right. But what I've noticed in the last probably 5 years is with more conversation specifically around masculinity and femininity and all of the different ways that they interact and work, is I've started to see more women embracing each other
Yeah.
and
absolutely.
and really having deep conversations with guys. I've managed a lot of men throughout my career, and it's been amazing, the shift. The second you tell people, like, it's going to take 6 months for us to get to know each other.
Yeah.
It might take a year for us to trust each other. When a guy can cry on your shoulder through joy or through loss, you know that you've got this lovely little balance of parity between energy. But it feels
Exactly.
like the women don't have to walk into rooms anymore and be little
Harder.
men.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
true.
Do you feel that shift?
I do, yeah. I think in some workplaces, some still need a little bit more development, potentially.
Yeah. Some are trying, some are not.
Who are some of the women that you look up to in your life right now?
I think Elly is one of the ones that I really looked up to. Someone I've always
That
kind of,
year difference.
Yeah, I know. They're like miles ahead in terms of like emotional maturity and things like that. So it's a good thing to learn.
TBH.
Yeah, I think Catherine Harris is a big one for me from
Oh.
TBWA.
Yeah.
She is just amazing,
She's
and
a
she
cool
just,
cat.
you know, as she like was saying, she has that amazing balance of, you know, being this, you know, amazing woman and making sure that she's making space for other women coming up through the
So
network.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just like terrifying, and I love that. Like, it's so great.
Yeah.
I need that balance of like mum and terrifying.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Yeah, it could kick your ass, but also
Yeah.
could be a shoulder to cry on. Like, that's
Exactly.
a killer balance.
Exactly. It's a killer balance.
Noted.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love a little shout out to Kristen Lundman from Hatch, the financial services company. She
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
a boss lady, but
Yeah.
she is also really, really sweet and kind and personable, and she's growing that business amazingly. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a little shout out to Maria Devereux,
Oh,
who
yes.
I met at your guys' event.
She's amazing.
And oh my, she is like the sweetest, kindest, smartest, like Gush City, USA. Like what an amazing woman. And
Yeah.
one of the first female ECDs here that doesn't walk through the room like a swinging dick.
Yeah.
Like how that's amazing, because
Yeah.
especially when you get into agency culture,
Right.
breaking that
The
conundrum.
agency culture is so masculine dominated, right?
Yeah.
To make inroads
Extremely.
in there is like
It's-
a big deal.
I think the issue we're having with that is mostly because a lot of our agencies are legacy agencies.
Yes.
So they've come from a long line of men who have come from a long line of men and who have now stepped up into those other roles as the next long line of men.
Correct.
So it's, I think people like Catherine Harris and, you know, even Angelina Fari from, you know, 11 PR, people that are, you know, all the ladies from PED as well.
Yep,
And they,
yep.
you know, have these, you know, goals to move more women in and get more diversity through, which is amazing to see.
It's fascinating. I was telling a story yesterday to somebody where I was lucky to be in a room with a lot of New Zealand's top creatives. I'm going to say there were 14 men and 3 women in the room. And I was standing with somebody who's my age, so 38 years old, and we were talking about agency culture. And this person started to say, and I shit you not, this just happened, the young kids today, they think they can just leave at 5:30 p.m. and go do yoga and then stay home for the rest of the night. And I was like,
that entitlement.
I know,
dare they?
but that's he was
dare they live their
serious.
lives?
Yeah.
He was serious,
so
and I
bad.
kind of went, Are you joking? Are you making a funny? Is this a ha-ha, or are you serious? And he's like, oh, no, I'm serious. We expect them to be in from 5 a.m. until midnight.
I've heard those words though, other people's
Oh
words
yeah,
as well.
I've heard them sometimes in our own office. They're saying like if you're staying late, it's your own poor self-management rather than the workload.
Oh, the conversations we could have. I'm just going to take a deep breath on that one.
Well, everyone count to 10.
The idea of, so I like to call it the cult of busy, and this like exaltation of presenteeism. And I feel like that's actually probably what has caused so much of the strife that we're in today, more than technology, more than social media and algorithms and us just spending time doing this.
Yes.
It feels like it's these expectations because we're all at work now. There used to be another human at home, mostly the woman, and that's how adulting got done.
Yeah.
The woman usually did all of the child rearing, the house cleaning, the laundry, the cooking, the everything. But now women and men both have to work.
Yeah.
And if we're all living for presenteeism and the cult of busy, oh my God, busy work, don't get me started. How are we supposed to manage that if the expectations are the legacy person passes down to the legacy person?
Yeah. I think I read something interesting, I can't remember where, a few years back, and it was saying that because there has been such a decline in organised religion, a lot of younger people are bringing in their work as their religion.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's the hashtag hustle, it's the, you know, catch me here at 9 p.m. still hustling, and it's made our generation think that that's what's necessary to get ahead, is staying till 9 p.m. or working on the weekends and things like that.
It's a sign of achievement and success when actually it's really unhealthy, and I'm guilty of that as well. I used to do that, and
I think
like,
we all
Oh yes,
are.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like used to stay till like 8 p.m. to get things done, and
Do you think it's like also how do we extricate title from who we are, so we're not beings meant to output, but like souls to be purified?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And like not looking down on, I guess, activities that are more of like slow living or hobbies or anything like that. Like they're just as important as your work life. Like,
I mean, I cannot wait to become a barista.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Seriously, I told my friend that I was going to be a barista, and she was like, "Bitch, no." I think you heard her say that. Yeah. I was like, "Not really. I'm going to make a real good coffee and just chat to people all day."
Sometimes
Perfect.
I miss hospitality for the chats you'd have with people.
And the fact that you got to leave on the fucking dot.
That's
I'm
it.
out. Bye.
And then you're caffeinated
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
and happy.
Yeah,
And so are the people you're serving. But I mean, that's the thing too, is we are told that to be a part of society or somebody who's important, you need to have the title, the paycheck, the house, all of these things. I feel like that needs to change. How do we do that? Is it just different questions when we meet people? Hi, my name is Cassie. What do you do? First thing out, right? What's a new first question we could ask people? There's a good one.
What's your
Describe
favourite
yourself. Oh, sorry. Describe yourself without any labels or titles. Who are you?
What do you hate the most?
Oh my God. Who are you guys asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favourite colour?
Oh, who am I?
Without any of the like marketing expert.
I'm Cassie Roma, and I believe in kindness, and my whole purpose in life is to put more kindness into the world. So that's strength and clarity and courage, and to help other people shine. What do I hate the most? People who walk up to me on the streets and they're like, "We saw that you're Elton John's #1 fan in New Zealand," but actually I am.
Yes.
Like
What gives you the right?
So many people. What gives
dare
them
you?
the right now? It's fine. I like to chat. Come and tell me.
Yes, that's me.
I don't even know.
You've been having a few street fights.
There have been a few.
Yeah.
Let me
A
tell
couple of
you.
dust ups
Throw
over
hands.
who's the
Yeah.
#1 fan.
But kindness warrior. I'm just like, yeah.
You just know
We'll
in
let
your
Uncle
heart of
Elton
hearts
figure
that
that one
you
out.
are the #1 fan.
We'll
so
let Uncle Elton
exactly.
fill that one out.
their opinions don't matter.
Yeah. They didn't have
Greatest
the
love
costume.
story ever for Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
This
it's like
kid.
you talked about like Elton 3 times and
Yeah.
Carly none.
Carly.
Yeah, Carly, we
So
love
she
you.
mentioned she tried to pop out of a wardrobe and
Oh
stand
yeah,
up.
you did. Okay,
yeah.
there's one.
Scare the shit out of her. A little bit of embarrassment on the worldwide social web.
Okay.
But she was prepared. She knew what was coming. She was
La la la.
Poor I already had to change your pants 4 times that night. It's fine.
Oh, goodness. That's so great.
It's love, guys. Let me tell you about when you're older. Love is finding
Side of
little
love.
nooks in the house to just jump out and scare your partner from.
Amazing.
Can't say I've ever had that idea to do that to my partner. But I'm going to file it away for later.
We-
I might try that out sometime.
We've got this staircase, and there's 15 stairs from the bottom to the top, and it's like 7 this way and 8 that way.
Yeah.
And then there's kind of a little wall here. And then for some reason, I don't know why they built the house this way, but the best view of the ocean from our house is from the toilet. So quite often before bed, like I know, we all brush our teeth, wash our face, go to the toilet. So one night, I don't know why I thought this was a great idea. I hit off on top of the 8th step, knowing that Carly was going to, oh my God, I'm so sorry for telling the story. Was going to be going to the bathroom with the door open, looking out at the view. And I thought she was done, but she wasn't. And
Oh
she
my
started to like walk in instead of walk out, and jumped up from behind the staircase. And she lost it.
Oh
And
my
was like,
gosh.
if you ever do that again, I'll kill you. So this has become what I do all the time now.
Nice.
So
Nice.
once one of us has a heart attack, I'll stop.
Sounds like a real bonding experience.
It's,
Yeah.
it's been a good marriage so far.
'Cause
2 years in, still going strong. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to check our time. Ooh, we've got 4 more minutes.
Oh.
So let's do the wrap up.
Oh.
I feel like today we've covered most.
It's like
of-
ASMR. Can you hear that?
Today we're going to.
soothing.
So
Things
weird.
just got weird.
That was like
Wrap it
little
up.
chipmunk. Somebody in the background's going, "Girls, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done." As we finish up, first and foremost, I'd like to say thank you both for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank
It's
you so
been
much
so
for
much
having
fun. I'd like to know one aspiration that you have for the next year, for your life.
Elise?
I did give them a question, so I'm alert of those.
I think to be the most empathetic human being I can possibly be, like be the best version of me in that regard.
That's nice.
I feel like that's fallen off the wayside a couple of times in recent times, and I want to get back to that. And I've started making little changes, like being a flexitarian, eating less meat, and doing more yoga and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, just taking steps towards that, and maybe professionally being the best storyteller I can possibly be across different formats, not just writing. Writing was my first love, but I really want to expand into podcast, video, social media, whatever it takes.
Hey, welcome.
And here I am as a
Doing
guest.
it.
I have a
so,
feeling
yeah.
this time next year you'll look back and be very proud of yourself.
Cool. Thank you.
I think my aspiration at the moment is to put my own health first,
Smart.
rather than, I guess, the image of health that is at the moment.
Dive deeper.
Okay. I guess society's view of healthy isn't necessarily the individual's.
Nice.
So that's me. And then I guess professionally, I want to find what I'm good at.
That's nice.
Just go, you keep hunting. I guess you never stop learning and never stop growing. And I feel like if I get comfortable, I get complacent. So I need to, I guess this year, do a few more things that just terrify me.
Wow. I have a feeling you'll be proud of yourself too on 365 sleeps.
Or I'll procrastinate and not do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the procrastination. Yeah. So it's been 364 sleeps. How are you looking? So thank you both very much. Thank you everybody who joined us today. We'll be back again next week with a little bit more benevolent banter. Same bat time, same bat channel, different bat girls. Yeah. That's not a bat.
Or a random one.
No.
It's fine.
Cool. So thanks everybody, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.